Hi there and welcome back, where today we're going to be talking about NAINAINAI by Atarashii Gakko. That name NAINAINAI, I always want to say more nais because in the chorus it's like NAINAINAI, there's more nais. Anyway, this is an interesting group who a lot of people have been recommending I listen to for a while because I quite like stuff which has a bit of a hip-hop lean to it, like any middle-aged white balding guy. We all like hip-hop. But I really appreciate a good rap or even simple pop rap, just something that has an interesting sort of hip-hop flow to it can be really cool. Plus the fact that this is a group who seem to have a lot of sense of humour. Now this might be the first time I listened to one of their songs, but I had actually seen one video they did before where they were basically introducing the Japanese subway and train system to foreigners, and it was all kind of very good, a bit simple but very good advice, but presented with a lot of personality. So I was really excited to see what we get from this group. Now lyrics are a big part of this, but before we get onto the lyrics, which were helpfully written on the screen as well in English, let's first of all talk about the song structure. Now, as mentioned, this was basically a fairly simple hip-hop song, verse, chorus. We had 3 choruses, we had a little breakdown where everything went a little bit spaced out and a bit strange after the second chorus. Kind of reminded me a little bit of old school hip-hop where the DJ used to be as important as the rapper and you'd have a breakdown to like a sort of like a DJ breakdown halfway through. It was a little bit like that, a bit spaced out, a little bit crazy. And the choruses themselves, really enjoyed. Choruses were catchy. They had, again, that sort of old school vibe of more being like a sort of chanted chorus, but they really stuck in your head. As I say, you did get that little sung bit, that that bit at the end as well. So there's a teeny bit of melody in there, but it was basically a sort of chanted rhythmic chorus. Very good, goes around your head, gets stuck in your head, still in my head right now, which is, I always say, is a good quality to have if you're trying to do a catchy chorus and it's still in the reviewer's head while he's trying to talk about it. Now for the rest of the song, I suppose the most important bit, the rap, it's fairly simple stuff lyrically, well not lyrically, but rhythmically, the delivery. It's very much sort of on the beat, nothing too complicated with the rhythm, but I felt that was kind of helpful because as I get onto later, this is a very lyrical song, and so clarity was important, and her delivery was very clarity. From the actual side of the production, yes, we did have that breakdown, but it was quite a simply produced song throughout. The beat was, it kind of reminds me a little bit of what I've been saying about more recent Wednesday Campanella since they've had Utaha come in there, where the productions have been kind of minimalist, like they're trying to give room for the vocals. And I think that was important as the vocal delivery here did have a sort of real sense of personality and emotion. So you wanted to give it room to breathe, and they certainly did do that. As always though, this was like, say, that Wednesday Campanella style, where there was still enough sounds to give it personality, to denote little bits of chord changes here and there. It wasn't that sort of minimalism that you get in the more negative tropes of Western music, where it's just minimalist to the point of just being dull. This did have a bit of personality. It did have a little bit of sound to it. It was enough to keep it interesting. It was enough to support the song. It was enough to basically make the song sound unique without perhaps going too far, too complicated. So now we've established that it's a really catchy chorus, that it's got good delivery, and it's got a beat that works perfectly fine. Let's talk about the lyrics and the whole way that plays into the video, because the video actually is really nice. We got lyrics that are talking a lot about emotions and a video that is trying to express that through some really interesting and playful metaphors. Now I must say that I am addressing the lyrical subject matter of this from a slightly interesting standpoint, in that I am not, believe it or not, a Japanese schoolgirl. I never have been and I never will be. So I can't see it from the perspective that it's written from. And this is a group who obviously they're dressed in their schoolgirl outfits, although I believe that they started like 4 or 5 years ago, so they might have been at school at the time, but I don't think they are anymore. They're a group who obviously can write this more from that perspective, but obviously the perspective of living in Japan and knowing the sort of pressures that are generally expressed and felt by most people, that's something that I can kind of understand. And this song is talking a lot about those sorts of things. It's not so much a narrative. There isn't a clear narrative or a story to this. It's more expressing a lot of thoughts. It's like openly spewing out the thoughts of someone who feels the pressure of being in high school, the pressure of expectation, and primarily the pressure of wanting to look for a boyfriend. Now, she puts this together mostly by talking about feeling perhaps a little bit not as attractive as other girls, feeling the pressures of needing to be good in school but maybe not being so good, the sense of really not having any control over her fate. And that was rather interestingly done, I thought. The video does play this sort of metaphor of there almost being a lottery to get the perfect guy and to be next to that good-looking guy who they all want to be with. And she's talking a lot about sort of physical attractiveness and how she doesn't fit into that. That combined with her whole persona, both lyrically and the delivery being a little bit scatological and a bit crazy, which helps considering, like I say, the rhythm of the lyrics is fairly steady. Her voice and delivery is a little bit, gives it that sort of personality. That helps to add that sense that she's just a little bit uncomfortable in her own skin. Now, one of the things that I quite liked about this is that it wasn't, although the song subject is basically about being kind of unhappy and unsettled, it wasn't one of those songs that goes down the emo route of trying to be like, oh, life is so unfair, blah, 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 blah. It more instead was sort of just looking inwards at herself and talking about the troubles that she has. So it didn't come across as being overly melancholy, overly self-indulgent. It was more of like an interesting just spew of consciousness. I did like that. I did like the fact that the emotion was properly conveyed, that there was a real sense of urgency and that you really felt that she means these things. And as I said, I think these are quite relatable themes. I think these are themes that a lot of people can relate with. As I say, in Japanese society, I was saying as a moment ago, there's those pressures that I think we've all heard about, the stereotype we cannot understand. And, when she's talking about, this isn't an anime and I've got things I got to achieve and there's those pressures, I think most people can relate to that. So the weird thing is that although we're used to the image that we've seen before I've actually heard the group of Atarashi Gakko being this sort of crazy comical group, I think there was actually something quite relatable and a bit deeper and quite true and honest about this song, which was a pleasant surprise. So yeah, I think lyrically this is a song that gets through to people. It's not just a joke. Yes, there is a sort of funny edge to it. Yeah, they do overact it. Yeah, everything is done a little bit over the top. But I think it's a relatable song that a lot of people would appreciate for those reasons. So in conclusion, we have a song that is catchy, seems honest, has enough personality to let it stand out. This is basically a really good single. This is what you want to hear. It wasn't quite as crazy as I perhaps expected, but this is the first song I've heard by them, and given some of the other things I've seen of them, I'm sure they do have their crazier songs out there that we will get around to in good time. That said though, I think this was actually, although it might not have been as crazy as I expected, it was a much more solid song than I expected. Yes, it was perhaps a bit minimalist. I would have perhaps enjoyed a little bit more going on in the music, but there was nothing wrong with the music, and the fact that it gave room for the central narrative to come across vocally cannot be criticised. So great stuff. I'm looking forward to hearing more of their music to contextualise this. So whether you be an Atarashi Gakko fan or not, get in the comments, tell me what you think, and until I hopefully see you for the next one of these very soon, for now, ciao ciao.